again without Trevor versus Notre Dame? Reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. 888-729-3776. Wiangalele. I did it! Yay! DJ Wiangalele. That's their quarterback. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You know, I still don't think I say Antetokounmpo right. I think I'm missing something there. Let me hear you say Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis.
Raj.
Giannis.
No, say Antetokounmpo. I don't think I'm saying it right. I still call him the freak, you know?
Are you adding a syllable? Now you're going to mess me up.
Maybe.
You're adding a syllable.
I don't know. It's only been 10 years he's been in the league. He's only won 2 MVPs. Why should I know?
Antetokounmpo.
Who else? There's someone else like that. Wiangalele, if he turns into something, will join Antetokounmpo and someone else who we never really learned how to pronounce. Not really. Who is it? I mentioned it on First Take today, and I'm forgetting it already.
NBA?
Maybe not. Is it major? Anyone in baseball, or maybe it's NFL? Is there anyone in the NFL whose name we can't pronounce?
Tua.
Yeah, that's who it was. Tunga Vailoa.
Yeah.
Tunga Vailoa. Everyone calls him Tua. No one wants to say Tunga Vailoa because even though we've been told 15 times, it's actually Tunga Vailoa. We see the spelling and we don't believe it. So we call him Tua. We call him the freak. We call him Giannis. We don't want to say Tunga Vailoa or Antetokounmpo. Nope. Which, I think I'm still saying wrong. If anyone knows how to say the freak's last name,
it's like
real,
you saying your.
Let me know. Again,
It's like you saying your last name.
He's only. Right, I can't even say Kellerman because I can't slow down for the R in it. But if anyone knows how to say the Greek freak's last name properly, please let me know. Teach me how to do it because, again, he's only been in the league for 6 years and has won 2 MVPs. I only use his name like 15 times a day. So, Wiangalele, that's the latest one. We're all going to call him DJ. But Wiangalele, I can do. That's actually not hard. It's hard to remember at first, but it's not hard to say. And Antetokounmpo, I have a problem making my mouth say all the different syllables. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Buckle up a little bit later. We're going to fly through the NFL whip around. We're going to do it soon in this segment. Be a part of the Max Kellerman Nation. I did it again. I don't even know the name of my own country. It's Max Kellerman Nation. Not the Max Kellerman Nation. Raj, that sounds wrong.
Without the.
On the Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-SAY-ESPN. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back. And so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. First, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers took care of business, boy. Oof. I know, well, the Niners don't have their quarterback and they're all banged up. Look, Bill Barnwell has a great piece on ESPN.com about why the Niners might move on from Garoppolo. The cliff notes are they don't take a cap hit. They're done paying him the guaranteed money. His advanced metrics are not good. Like, he doesn't take a lot of shots down the field. When he does, he's not very good at it. It's not like his short yardage numbers are off the charts that make you go, oh, my God, it compensates for it. And in addition to that, he's injury prone. That's a pretty good argument. Let me make the kind of meathead, casual, old-timey sports writer type argument, like the really stupid argument that tells you, boy, this guy is a dinosaur from another age. I grew up reading guys like this in the paper. It's like, wait, every 12-year-old knows more about this guy in the local paper. Why is he writing about sports? Because he's talking to the other old, stupid people who don't know anything, right? But, and yet, part of that's in me now. Part of that's in me now. I can't help it. I know quarterback one-loss records are sort of like pitcher one-loss records, which I think have become actually underrated. Although in this era, guys really don't pitch deep into games at all, so maybe they're not. But quarterback one-loss records mean something to me. I think that, especially in today's game, they have such an outsized impact on wins and losses, on success for your team. Like, All the great teams have a successful coach-quarterback combination. Those are the elite teams year in and year out, even if other parts of the team are no good. The Seahawks and the Packers are, last 5 or 6 years, they've had down years, but the down years aren't like 2 and 3 win years, They're 6 and 7 win seasons. That's like an awful year for them. And then they have a lot of double-digit win seasons. Quarterback coach, and obviously Belichick and Brady in New England, and there are other examples, Breeze and Sean Payton. Jimmy Garoppolo, I do this every time I talk about him. I'm sorry, if he's just kind of replacement level, then Mullins or whoever replaces him should be able to keep their head above water. But again, he joined a team that could not win. They were losing every game. He went 5-0, he got hurt. The next season, he missed. They lost 12 or 13 games. The next season, he came back. They won 12 or 13 games. It was an exact reversal of fortune. And they went to the Super Bowl, and he had a lead in the fourth quarter. And if he hits Emmanuel Sanders, he's a hero. Came down to one pass. And this year so far, guys, let's not forget, the games he lost, like what do they have? They're 4-5 now, right? But 3 of those 5 losses Jimmy G is either hurt in the game, obviously, like there's something wrong, or he's not playing in the game. 3 of the 4 losses. Sorry, 3 of the 5 losses. At his one-loss record, really, yeah, Raj, you have something to say? No, you rang the bell accidentally?
You're just testing stuff off the air. Go ahead, do your thing, man. Don't.
So Jimmy G, Garoppolo, has something like a 24-8 regular season record. But again, there were a couple games in there this season where it's like, come on, man, he's not right. When he was right, I don't know, they got a decent win against the Rams, didn't they? But I mean, look, the deciding factor in terms of the Niners moving on from him may be the injuries, right? Like, there's not a huge margin for error. If I just gave you the one-loss record and how it's not coincidence that when he plays, they win almost every game, and when he doesn't play, they lose almost every game. But then for a guy like that, who's kind of doing it with spit and bubble gum, right? He's sort of doing it with smoke and mirrors. Barnwell has documented it well, or gave you the stats well. He doesn't take a lot of shots down the field. He's not that good when he does. And then his completion percentage isn't exactly through the roof otherwise, right? Kind of middle-of-the-pack QBR kind of guy. That guy should at least be healthy, right? He's not. But unless the Niners get someone better than him, you got to stay. Like, who's going to be better than him? Shanahan tried to run that offense with some other guys. It wasn't it didn't work. It worked with Garoppolo. Meantime, Aaron Rodgers is balling out of control, as is Russell Wilson. And if you said who's the best quarterback in the NFL over the last half dozen years, the answer is Russell Wilson. If you said who has been the most valuable quarterback in the last half decade, best quarterback in the NFL over a half-decade span, Russell Wilson. And he's never won an MVP. And he's on pace to break the touchdown record this year. And his team only has 1 loss, and they could have easily won that game. It came down to 1 play in overtime to the second-place team in the division. That's the only loss this year. And there's a strong kind of sentiment that, hey, give Russell Wilson his MVP. He's never won it. And Rodgers also, what a comeback year compared to the down stats last year. I hate to tell everyone, Mahomes is better than both those dudes today, and he's having a better season than both those dudes today. Right now, Mahomes is your NFL MVP. Pretty clearly. 21 touchdowns, 1 INT, 21-1. You know what his adjusted average yards per pass is? Number 1 in the NFL. Touchdown to interception ratio by far number 1. QBR, number 1. Patrick Mahomes, the reigning Super Bowl MVP, coming off the MVP the first time he ever touched the ball 2 years ago. Regular season MVP, 50 touchdowns. Super Bowl MVP, followed it up by having a better year than Rodgers or Russell Wilson so far, both maybe having their career years. I know people. And by the way, we've had Casey Joyner, the football scientist, on this show, Raj. And he said the Chiefs want to avoid shootouts, like give the ball to Hilaire a lot. Now, that may cut down on Mahomes' interceptions, but it also probably cuts down on his touchdowns and yards. He's got 21 touchdowns. So let's say he would have had 30% more touchdowns and 30% more interceptions had he been playing in a less conservative offense. He'd have 27 touchdowns and 1.3 interceptions. That's ridiculous. That was Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart.
You know what time it is, Max?
What time is it, Rod?
Whip around, baby!
All right, NFL Whip Around. Let's do it. Anyone notice how the Bills can't score any points at all this year? And their defense is maybe not quite what you thought it would be, is it? But the Seahawks have to travel to Buffalo, and they are the favorites. Raj, I smell an upset.
What?
Casey Joyner, the football scientist, came on this show and said Josh Allen. Remember I asked him about his fantasy sleeper, basically, and he took Josh Allen? And I was thinking about calling an upset in this game. One thing that Russell Wilson's doing very impressively is he's being asked to win all the shootouts, and he's doing it. But now he's coming up against a team whose quarterback may be able to exploit Russell Wilson's secondary at the same time that he's facing a defense that maybe can get something done. And they're at home. I like the Bills in an upset.
All right, what do we got next?
So there it is.
Bears and Titans.
Listen, the Tennessee Titans are excellent. They're excellent. Stop Derrick Henry from running the ball. Ryan Tannehill can beat you. Ryan Tannehill is not a mirage. He was a first-round bust. There's no other way to put it. A bust. It wasn't like Alex Smith every year there's another head coach, offensive coordinator, and da-da-da-da. No. It was years of like, what's going on with this? Is he ever going to be any good? The answer was no. Just when we all gave up on him, it turns out he's very good. He's very good. And the Tennessee Titans are a much better overall team, well-rounded, I should say, team than the Bears. Raj, I'm picking the Bears.
Ooh.
I'm taking the Bears in another upset.
Yeah.
The Bears, to me, have a special defense that, even though it's doing very well, it's rated highly this year, still hasn't played up to their potential. Okay. I think the Bears, by the end of the season, have the kind of defense that we remember. And the offensive line has been awful. But you know something about offensive lines? They tend to get better over the course of a season if they can stay healthy because they get chemistry. And that can sometimes overcome a lack of talent. And it's not that they'll ever be good, but they just need to be a little better for Nick Foles to be better on third down. I like the Bears.
Ravens and Colts.
The Ravens really need to win this game, Raj. They really need to win this game. Colts are a bad team at home to try to get healthy against them.
That defense is real. Colts play some real defense, Max.
It is real. But the Ravens don't actually have to have this game. And besides which, when I tell you that Lamar Jackson is 24-1 against everyone else, that everyone else included the Patriots with Tom Brady, the Seahawks with Russell Wilson, a lot of excellent teams that Lamar Jackson beat. His issue is not beating good teams or good defenses. I want everyone to get this straight. Don't get it twisted. Don't get this bent. He can beat excellent teams. He can beat teams who know how to defend him. He can beat excellent defenses. He has a problem with the must-win games. You must beat the Steelers in the rivalry game when they get Roethlisberger back. If you're a Ravens quarterback, two things you got to do. Beat the Chiefs, beat the Steelers, win playoff games. He can't do any of those things. He can do everything else. Go ahead.
Panthers and Chiefs.
So he's gonna beat the Colts. Go ahead.
Penalized 10 yards.
Ravens over
Lost
Colts.
it down. Hey, you got McCaffrey.
Yeah.
McCaffrey might be coming back, dog. We're gonna know about 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Panthers and Chiefs. What you thinking?
Chiefs next.
All right, next game.
Go ahead.
Here we go. Raiders and Chargers.
I'm serious. I'm done. I'm not going to do commentary. It's beneath me. This is interesting, Raj. The Chargers have shown, have hit higher heights. Sorry, excuse me. The Raiders have hit higher heights than the Chargers this season. But Justin Herbert, let's be honest, I'm not talking about the feeling you get from watching him. I get it. You watch Joe Burrow and you go, I just got a feeling that I'm not watching Joe Burrow. I'm watching Joe Montana, right? He's got that thing. Beware of that. Like, if there are two guys and you're basing your whole thing on that kind of feeling he gives you, Justin Herbert's been the best rookie quarterback in football.
Okay.
And the truth is, it has not been particularly close. If you ask me going forward who I'd want, maybe it would be Burrow. So far in the NFL, Justin Herbert is the truth. But Raj, the Chargers have built a franchise based on losing games they look like they're going to win. And I think this is another one. I think Justin Herbert's going to have a great game. I think it's going to look like the Chargers are going to win one against the quality team and a rival. It ain't going to happen. Raiders are going to beat them. By the way, so far I may have picked every single game wrong. I have misgivings about every single prediction. Who's next?
Steelers and Cowboys.
Max, we got a televised scrimmage, but we're going to watch it anyway. Talk to me.
Believe it or not, I think the Steelers are going to kill them, Raj.
I hope so.
See the misdirection? Wait, that's the joke.
Where you going with this?
Believe it or not. And then I say the thing everyone knows.
You got me.
You ruined it by not getting the
You caught me
joke.
with my mouth open. I was ready. I was all like, whoa, how does he think the Cowboys going to win this and blow the draft pick? But go ahead.
I'll give one thing to McCarthy. Mike McCarthy had the Cowboys ready to play the Eagles. Remember that first possession? They took the ball right down, and they wound up kicking a field goal. But they put points on the board right away. I felt like he had coached, like, with all the talk about how in Mike McCarthy on the hot seat already, I felt like he coached them up. Ain't going to be enough against the second best team in the AFC. I mean, when they made that trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick to an already good defense, you thought, oh, that could be a tipping point. Then they lost Roethlisberger, but the defense was good enough that even with no one at quarterback, Mike Tomlin coached that team to 8-8. Now they have Roethlisberger back, and they got Claypool. They're going to destroy the Cowboys.
I agree.
And by the way, Cowboys don't have an offensive line anymore. That's the number one thing. They haven't had much of a defense, but the O-line's gone.
All right, game of the week. Come on, talk to me.
Oh, this is so good. Oh, this game. This is the fun one this weekend. Saints and Bucs.
Saints and
Bucs have a better.
Buccaneers.
There you go. Bucs have a better defense, but Saints picked up Quan Alexander, linebacker, should help them. He's good. And they're getting Michael Thomas back, and they're getting Emmanuel Sanders back. So now we finally see the Saints as we were supposed to see them. And therefore, Raj, Bucs are going to win. The problem is this. Thomas and Sanders haven't been playing. We saw what Rodgers looked like against the Bucs when he got Davante Adams back. He's trying to feed him the ball a little bit, trying to force it a little bit. The Bucs defense took advantage. I think we just see the same thing here. I think Breeze just getting his weapons back. They're trying to get their feet under them. I think it's the wrong team to do that against a Bucs team, which may be peaking now. They've been playing, I know, against the Giants, but the Giants get after it on defense. They've been playing excellent football. The Bucs have. And adding AB, it's not quite the same. Well, what about Tom Brady? He's adding AB. It's going to take him time. No, because AB doesn't have to do too much. And we saw what happened with the Patriots. AB walked onto that team, having spent the preseason with the Raiders, had a couple days to practice, caught 4 first downs, including a TD, right? And they don't really need him to do more than that. I like the Bucs.
All right, last game, Monday Night Football. Hit it on me.
Patriots and Jets.
This you better get right game. Cam better get right versus the Jets, man. I'm telling you.
He will. Cam's going to beat the Jets. Cam Newton, again, 2 plays this season. Changed 2 plays. And the entire narrative of the season is different. Instead of 2 and 5, what are they, 2 and 5? Yeah, 2 and 5. They're 4 and 3. If Cam punches that in, that goal line stand the Seahawks made, the play Bobby Wagner made, if Cam punches that in, they beat Seattle. And if he doesn't fumble the ball against the Bills and they beat the Bills, we're looking at this Patriots team completely differently. Oh, wait a minute. Cam beat the Raiders and the Dolphins and the Bills and the Seahawks, and he's 4 and 3? But instead, because of those 2 plays, we have a totally different story. I believe Cam is better than he's shown, and I gotta believe he's going to beat the Jets.
All right, there you go. The NFL whip around. Let's see, man. Underdog Max today, man. You picked a lot of underdogs.
I did. Fearless. Fearless predictions. And we know that when you predict the NFL midseason, everyone remembers every game you picked. So it's a big deal to climb out on a limb. No one remembers anything. Wow. And by the way, if I get any of these wrong, I'm going to deny it.
Who cares? And you know what's going to happen, though, Max? Just like our power rankings, people are going to start doing NFL whip-arounds, like going through all the NFL games quickly with the music that we just discovered, that we invented.
Yeah, that's the thing. As long as they don't play the NFL music behind the quick hits, I'm all right. Because it's such a good idea. I know people are going to imitate, and that's the sincerest form of flattery. First, they took our power rankings. A lot of guys change the name of power rankings, but some people just keep calling it power rankings. Shameless. And they're going to start doing a whip. You're right, Raj. You know what? That's where I draw the line. If they start doing NFL whip-arounds and they put the NFL music behind it, I better not hear any other radio show doing that. I mean, how much can I take? Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. We do not talk college football often enough on this show. But number one Clemson is playing Notre Dame, and it's too big to ignore. Uiagalelei. I did it, didn't I, Raj? I did it again.
Good job, boy. You're all right.
I did it again.
You show prep?
I'm showing off at this point. Uiagalelei. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. This past season, technology took sports viewership to the next level. The NBA featured digital fans in the stands to watch the games virtually and pump the players up, for example. But when it comes to hiring, there's one solution that's been advancing its technology for years, and that's ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Max. ZipRecruiter's technology identifies people with the right experience and invites them to apply to your job. I didn't tell you this, Raj, but the ZipRecruiter people took me to the mainframe where it all happens, and I got to check it out. First of all, they took out this little canister, and they sprayed me, and I passed out. And the next thing I knew is I woke up, and I was in this underground kind of cavernous thing with these poles. It was weird. And then I went to this computer, and there were little bat emblems all over the place, and it kept spitting out any answer I needed. Or I might be confusing this with the Adam West Batman, but it was one or the other. No wonder for anything early. Uiagalelei played well. You could see the dude's an athlete. But what did he throw for? He threw for over 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, ran another one in, and captained the comeback. It's pretty good. You're replacing, Trevor Lawrence, and you fall down, and yet your team wins. I know. Clemson came out a little flat. Still, now Notre Dame, that's a different story. Ian Book, another guy who can run at quarterback. Uiagalelei, for real? You beat Notre Dame in your second start? It's pretty good. And Notre Dame, obviously, like the Clemson defense, is going to have to be much better than they just were. And they're going to have to shut down the run. If Notre Dame can run it on them, it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, Notre Dame's not ranked fourth for nothing. So, you could talk about the quarterback or quarterbacks, but really it could come down to the defense. Clemson comes out flat, and Notre Dame is, not worried about it, and they're moving the ball, running the ball. They could win the game. How Notre Dame beats Clemson. This is Tom Luginbill on ESPN, our ESPN college football analyst on Freddie and Fitzsimmons.
Notre Dame needs to come into this game, and they've got to do some things, and it's gonna involve taking some risks. They've got to do some things to get DJ off platform. Don't allow him to have the easy read. Force him to work into progressions. I saw the quote from Dabo Sweeney today that said, there's nothing in our offense that DJ can't do that Trevor does.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe not. Maybe the whole entire offense is open to him. But I can tell you this, DJ hasn't seen any of the things that Trevor has seen in terms of what people throw at you. And so I think it's up to Notre Dame. That's the whole key to me. If you let DJ get into a rhythm and you don't try to get him to hold onto the ball or to second guess or to have to work through progressions, then you're giving the game away.
I don't know. He's focusing on Wiangalele, and I understand that that's the kind of story. But it's not like Ian Book can't play, and he can really run. And to me, it's actually much more about the Clemson defense. That was the trouble spot against BC, and that's what's going to have to control the way Notre Dame is going to want to play. Major League Baseball, MLB Network reports that the Red Sox are rehiring Alex Cora to be their manager. Alex Cora, of course, former second baseman for a long time, 45 years old now, led the Red Sox to the 2018 World Series, unfortunately. That's a very bad thing that whenever the Red Sox win, we all know this. It was his first year as manager. In 2020, in January, the sides parted ways following the league's investigation into the Houston Astros' illegal sign-stealing scheme. Raj, now that they're hiring Cora back, the Red Sox might start cheating. I need something to help my Yankees.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I need something.
You might need to quit choking in the playoffs, man. All that money you guys are spending. I mean, let these bats come through in the playoffs.
Well, it's hard to win in the playoffs when guys are recording, when guys know what's coming. You remember, I was like, damn, Altuve might be the best I've seen. Like, when I was a kid, I saw Joe Morgan, but he was really past his best by the time I was really aware. So I saw Ryan Sandberg at his best. I saw Roberto Alomar at his best. I've seen, some great second basemen. Altuve, and by the way, Chase Utley for 3 or 4 years there was maybe the best. Altuve, I'm like, okay, maybe he's the best actually I've ever seen. And what a clutch performer. It was unbelievable. And he's crossing home plate with the wires you see in the shirt and the pictures, and he's not letting him rip off his shirt because he's saying his wife would say something about it. I wonder how he knew what was coming. Did it have something to do with a camera in center field? So yeah, Raj, the Yankees didn't win in 2017 because the other team was cheating.
Yeah.
By the way, Yankees fans, just remember this. That series went 7 freaking games, okay? Houston had home field. Think about this. All the games in Houston were close, and they were cheating. They cheated us out of it. The games at Yankee Stadium, Yankees beat the brakes off those guys. Beat the brakes off them. Meaning when you took Houston's cheating away, Yankees were just a better team. Houston was winning 1-run games with walk-off hits at home and getting curb stomped in the Bronx. Oh, I wonder why that is. And then they were found cheating. So, Raj, Yankees should have been in the World Series that year.
You're talking to a Dodger
I know
fan.
Dodgers fans are really upset about that, too. Yeah. You're right. We should have had Yankees-Dodgers that year. And now Alex Cora, cheater, is at the helm of the Red Sox, who won in 2018. You know what drives me crazy? I know this is a little what the hell am I trying to say when you diverge? A tangent. It's tangential. Since 2004, the Red Sox have won 4 World Series. The Yankees have won 1. New York Yankees, Brian Cashman's not doing a good enough job, period. I want to be very clear about this. He's an excellent GM. He is among the best in baseball, but he's clearly not the best. And if you're the New York Yankees, there is no excuse for not having the best. There is no salary cap. This is by far, not even close, the most successful franchise in the history of American team sports. You play in the number 1 market in the world. You're the richest team by far. And now I know, Cashman, if you're listening, I know that you can't win the World Series every year. I get it, and I think you're an excellent GM. But that's not good enough. You shouldn't have the job if you're not the best GM, and you're clearly not the best GM because it's one thing not to win it every year. I don't expect it. I insist that over any 15-year period, The Yankees win it more than anyone else. That's a must. But let me tell you what's even more of a must than that. Surely you must win it more than the Red Sox in a 15-year period. And let me tell you what's more important than that. You can't let the Red Sox beat you 4-1 over 15 years. 4-1. There is no excuse. None. So my take on Joey Cora being hired is Cashman do better. You ain't doing a good enough job, period. Notre Dame Clemson preview is brought to you by Allstate. Get better protected with Allstate. You've never been in better hands. 888-SAY-ESPN. You want to talk about Notre Dame and Clemson? You want to talk about Joey Cora? You want to talk about the Yankees? You want to talk about what? What did we start the show with? I can't even remember. It's a good football game. We didn't start with the Bucs and Saints, Raj.
No, we started with the,
but we can talk about
we started with the Packers and 49ers. But
that's right.
But that's coming up at the top of the hour. I'm writing what we're doing.
Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Rodgers. We can talk about a lot right now.
No, we can't.
Don't ever interrupt me again, Raj. Justin Fields or Trevor going number one? No doubt is next. Starting Monday, you can stream the Max Kellerman Show daily on ESPN Plus. With ESPN Plus, you can stream the Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. You can stream Greeny. You can stream Shanae and Golick Jr. And you also get live sports, exclusive originals, and more. Sign up now at ESPNplus.com. As always, you can hear us on ESPN radio stations all across the country for the perfect price of free $99. Raj, is my favorite price, free $99. And also SiriusXM and the ESPN app.
Well, you take it at that. It is the biggest game of the year because it's our first game. And I look at it that way. I've always looked at games this way. It's every game's important. I think they are because when you start putting more importance on other games, I think you lose the sight of what football's all about. It's about how you play the day you play. And they're all important games. I mean, you don't prepare all this time. I mean, look, we've been out for, 9 months. There's been a lot of preparation to go into playing a football game. This is a funny sport. You actually practice more than you play. And so for me personally, every game is important. I mean, if not, why do you play? Why do you have a schedule?
Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, your smart speaker. How's AB going to fit in with the Bucs? Going to get into that soon. Reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is brought to you by Shell. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30. Going to get right down to it.
We got you covered.
Let me tell you what I think.
No doubt.
It's fair to say.
No doubt.
Right. There are a bunch of guys who could make a fair claim to being the best. They're in the argument. I just don't think you'd win the argument. I think at this moment, the best argument's for Julio Jones. Julio Jones checks every single box.
That.
And he's the guy you really want.
One thing I will say, I think Davante scores more touchdowns than Julio over his career. But
that's not Julio Jones' fault.
Well, he does have not right. But hey.
By the way, put Julio Jones on the Packers.
Enough said. Hey, Ethan Hawke, remember him? He turns 50 years old today. Now, Training Day was Denzel's best movie. Not his best acting, but his best movie.
By the way, Raj, they just got me. I took a tissue and my nose itched, so I'm like, in case the director, for some reason, puts me on screen, let me not just do this with my finger. And he got me right on the thing. Come on, guys.
Training Day, Denzel's best movie, yes or no? Not best acting, best movie.
No. Nah, son. Denzel got better movies than Training Day. Training Day was pretty good. You could kind of see it coming, though. You see the MVP last night, Max Kellerman?
Hey, we react to a top 5 matchup in college football as Clemson visits Notre Dame.
I will never pick Notre Dame. Clemson got too many dudes, man.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin, Monday, 6 Eastern on ESPN.
Will protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
This is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80 and your smart speaker. This is a better get right game for Cam, boy. You can't beat the Jets. Reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776, Max Kellerman Show. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Packers beat a banged-up 49ers team on Thursday Night Football. Are the Packers the NFC's best? By the way, I was told I was calling Alex Cora Joey Cora in the first hour of the show. You know, they were brothers. They both played middle infield. I guess, Raj, I wanted to believe that it was Joey Cora and not Alex Cora. Yeah. Because Alex Cora, after all, didn't he spend years with the Dodgers?
That was actually the first Dodger that I had like a cell phone of, like one of my first guys. He was my guy.
Second baseman. So, like, I would like to think he wasn't mixed up in a cheating scandal that cheated the Dodgers out of the World Series.
Ooh, yeah, did his brother on. Yeah. Good point.
They were both pretty good players. I thought Joey was a little better.
Joey's
more
of a utility guy. Yeah, he was. He could play second, short, had a really good.
I think Joey hit a little better.
Okay.
I don't remember. I got to look it up, but I think Joey hit a little better. But I don't know. Whatever. They were both good players. They weren't like spectacular, but they were good players. And it's unfortunate that Alex Cora had to cheat the Yankees in 2017. Okay, now Aaron Rodgers. Raj went deeper into his career than any player ever without throwing to a first-round pick. And when he finally did, I forgot who it was, but it wasn't like, hey, the Packers drafted this guy in the first round and he turned out to be great, and now, no, it wasn't even like that. It was like I forgot who it was already. But it was like, you know, a guy he'd been around the league and now he's on the Packers, and they never get him any first-round help at receiver. And by the way, if they're not doing that, great. If you draft and develop well enough, we had Donald Driver on First Take today, and he's like, yeah, I was in the second round. Fine, if you draft and develop well enough, Davante Adams, whatever, you know, that you don't have to spend like high up first-round draft picks on receiving targets for Aaron Rodgers, great. So you must have an awesome defense, right? You must have a great defense in that case if all those draft picks are going to the defense. Your best draft pick, your highest draft pick, your first-round draft pick went to your backup, went to replace Aaron Rodgers? And by the way, if the Packers don't win, if they don't get out of the NFC this year, it's the Packers management's fault. Because you can't, let's put it this way. Jordan Love, in order for this to be the right call for the Packers, Jordan Love has to make the Hall of Fame. How's that for pressure? If you win 13 games and you're in the NFC Championship game and you have an aging quarterback, who you're, hey, can he get back to his prime form, which he is right now, and you don't have a defense, and you spend and he's not throwing any first round picks, and you spent your first round pick on his replacement instead of on maybe an impact defender that can get you over the top. Well, in that case, that quarterback better go to the Hall of Fame. Like when they drafted Brett Favre's replacement, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's going to the Hall of Fame. And that's the Packers anyway. Bart Starr, whoever it is, it's going to be like, this guy's going to be our quarterback for 15 years, and he's going to be great, and he's going to win a Super Bowl, right? Okay. I guess that's Jordan Love now, and they just couldn't pass him up. That Packers defense is not good, and Rodgers has enough offensive weapons. It's not like he doesn't have anyone. Davante Adams is very, very good. Aaron Jones is good. He could use a guy on the other side of Davante Adams who could really play. Aaron Rodgers, do we have that sound, Raj? At the post-game presser, did he feel bad for the Niners missing so many guys? They're all banged up.
No one's feeling sorry for anybody in this league. That's the way it goes. Nobody's feeling sorry for us when we're dealing with our injuries, and you just have to be a next man up mentality. Obviously, they had a number of young guys play. We had a number of young guys play. So that's the NFL in 2020. Obviously, they've got hit with the injury bug a lot more than you usually see. But it's still football. It still feels great to win. It feels good to be 6-2 at the halfway point, first in the division.
By the way, he's lucky that it's the Niners without Jimmy G. That's a team that can't win without their quarterback. He doesn't have Bakhtiari back yet. Bakhtiari's the kind of guy who it's hard to say. I remember when I'll go back to my Yankees, Raj. The Yankees signed Brian McCann. Remember the catcher from the Braves? And I don't know, going back 10 years, whatever it was. And I remember thinking, if McCann winds up, like, when the Yankees make a signing like that, they're betting that McCann's going to wind up in the Hall of Fame, which didn't turn out. But he was about halfway through a Hall of Fame catcher career. And it was more like years ago, like when the Angels signed Lance Parrish. It turns out, no, he wasn't actually. The second half of the career didn't match the first. It happens with catchers. They get worn down. But Bakhtiari kind of reminds me of a guy like that. Like, Bakhtiari may be halfway through a Hall of Fame career. It depends how the back nine matches the front. Because he's an absolute elite tackle when he's healthy. And it's like, if you're going to miss him, good to miss him against this Niners team. 888-SAY-ESPN. Dan from Florida, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Brett, 508 touchdown passes. Aaron has 189, I believe, 381, I think, to his name. Or will it just simply take a second Super Bowl title in Green Bay? What do you think?
Aaron Rodgers is already better than Brett Favre, and everyone knows it. Brett Favre on his best day was never as good as Aaron Rodgers. On the all-time list, Rodgers ahead of Favre already. Rodgers, look, Favre had special arm talent. It's like, it was the reason I like Mahomes better than Rodgers. He's a little bigger and sturdier, but he's also, his arm is a little more electric. It's not, Favre can thread the needle. He has an amazing arm, but there was something a little different about watching Favre. Like, the one thing, Favre had durability over Rodgers, and Favre, and Rodgers better than Favre, everything else. Every single thing else, Rodgers better than Favre. Favre had durability. Favre had a different kind of arm. When you watched it, there was something different. That's what Mahomes has, too. But Rodgers is better than Favre. He's a much smarter quarterback than Favre. He's more mobile. And he's more accurate. He's better. He's better now. They each have a Super Bowl. Favre has the durability thing going for, but I think when we're comparing all-time greats, provided you sustain your prime for a solid amount of time, we're really comparing peak to peak. Sometimes a guy's career accomplishments just overcome everything. Like, Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowl rings. He's been to 9, he won 6. So basically, every other year, Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl, and 2 out of 3 of those years, he's winning the Super Bowl. So even if I've seen guys better at their peak, he's the GOAT. Favre, because of the durability, the Iron Man streak, you know, I give it to him. And he had something about him. Guys like, you know, playing with him and the drawings to play up in the dirt and all that. Rodgers is better than he is. I don't think anyone really thinks Favre was as good as Rodgers. Steven from Los Angeles, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
How you doing, sir? Very nice talking to you again. Just a quick going back to the MVP that the quarterback from Seahawks has never won, Wilson. Can you tell us, the audience, for the last 10 years, which year and which player robbed him of the MVP? The MVP is not a 10-year being good at what you're doing. It's for the 1 year being the best. Tell us, the audience.
I agree. He's never been robbed. No, I agree. He hasn't been robbed. What's interesting is sometimes people just kind of get robbed by circumstance. So, for example, I don't think Russell Wilson in any one season would have been my MVP. But if you said over the last 5 years, who's the most valuable quarterback? Russell Wilson. So it's a shame that in a way, like, why is it arbitrarily this year that's an MVP, right? Over that amount of time, there have been guys better. But over half a decade, he's been the best. But never the best in any one season. I agree with you. Oh, wait, we have Warren Sharp on the phone right now from sharpfootballanalysis.com. Warren Sharp, are you there?
I'm here, Max.
On the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. There you go. Excellent. So, listen, while we're on the topic, who's the MVP so far this season, Warren?
I still think it's Russ, but again, I don't have a strong take yet because I think it's going to come down to who ends up willing their team to that finish line of getting that first-round bye in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers certainly has a good case right now. I think Russell Wilson has a very good case right now as well. And ultimately, it's going to be most of these awards go to the team that earns that first-round bye, and both these teams are vying for one first-round bye. So I think it's going to come down to the wire. It truly will.
Warren, I think Mahomes is the MVP. 21 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has the most adjusted yards per attempt. He has the highest PER. His team is a one-loss team. Why isn't Mahomes the MVP?
Well, to me at least, what we've seen right now this season is a Chiefs offense that has relied a lot more on the ground game and hasn't required Mahomes to deliver the brilliance that we're typically accustomed to seeing from him. I mean, when you have a guy as good as Patrick Mahomes, you could argue that every single season he could be the MVP because of how talented he is, and you won't really get that many cases of massive pushback. But from what I've seen, 2018, 2019, and then 2020, this offense has just not required him to do nearly as much. He hasn't had to carry as much on his shoulders. He hasn't been as valuable to his team this year as he's been in years past where he had to do most of the carrying. Their defense is playing really well. The run game is going really well, and the team is calling plays a lot differently as a result of that and saving him for what I think is their true goal, again, which is to repeat as Super Bowl champs. I will not say that if this team does not get if this team gets the first round bye, you know, Mahomes is absolutely in the discussion for MVP. But if you're asking me to pick one guy who I think is doing the most, I'm looking at Seattle's pathetic defense, and I'm looking at what Russell Wilson has done statistically and how much better this team is than in years past. And it's because they're letting Russ pass the ball more, and he's the one who's carrying this team. And so I've got to give it to him at this moment in time.
Warren, are you familiar with Casey Joyner's work, the football scientist?
A little bit.
So Casey, you know, I've had him on the show like in New York and LA for years, and he was talking about how, and this seemed counterintuitive to me, but I want to get you to weigh in on this, that in fact the Chiefs want to avoid shootouts, that their record in shootouts, while it's a winning record, is pedestrian compared to their record in other games, which is why Hilaire gets a lot of carries. If they're going to give him the run, might as well take it, right? And so I get what you're saying about Russ is being asked to win shootouts, which he's doing. The only loss he has is a game that hinged on a single play in overtime to the second-place team. And otherwise, he's won all these shootouts and has won every other game. But I'm interested to get your take on Casey Joyner's take about the Chiefs in shootouts. Do you agree that they should avoid shootouts? And if so, why?
Look, I mean, every team wants to go into a game trying to prevent the other team from scoring a lot of points. So if the goal is to lower the other team's ability to score points, you will certainly be able to do that when your own offense has the football. I think the way that this team is structuring things from an offensive perspective, they used, which we didn't discuss this early enough in the season, we didn't discuss it before the season, this mindset and this approach that with the exception of the Baltimore Ravens game, this is a team that said, we know our guys aren't quite 100%, right? We don't want Tyreek Hill running 20 go routes down the field week one against the Houston Texans with no preseason games. We want to ease these guys into it. We need them healthy by the end of the season for the stretch run. And so we're just going to rely a little bit more on the ground game. I think the Chiefs are just playing to the defenses that they're facing. They have played the Chiefs the number one easiest schedule of opposing run defenses on the season. So a smart coach, like if I'm advising them, I'm saying this team stinks defending the run. Let's run the football a little bit more. I don't know that they're running the football just because they don't think Patrick Mahomes can score enough points to win in the shootout. I think they're running the football because they know, A, it keeps our offense fresh and healthy, especially our skill positions that we're going to need to win in the playoffs, as well as our quarterback. We don't want those guys getting burned out over this weird offseason that we've been dealing with. But B, this is our quickest path to victory because these teams can't defend the run very well.
Interesting. Actually, Casey's point, I think, was not that Mahomes can't win shootouts. He can, and he usually does. It's that actually gives the other team a chance. And if they're going to give them the run and they're just going to take it, now the other team doesn't even have a chance, especially because Mahomes is the quarterback if you need him to throw the ball. Antonio Brown's impact on the Bucs-Saints game, right? On the one hand, Warren, I think about Davante Adams coming back off injury and Rodgers kind of trying to force him the ball, and the Bucs defense took advantage of that. On the other hand, the Saints defense has been underperforming this year, but they're brought in Quan Alexander. I think that's a good player, but I'd like to know if in fact he is. Like it seems to me he is, but I'm sure you know better than I. And what you think Antonio Brown's impact will be on the Bucs right away.
Well, I've heard differing perspectives here. I've heard some people say and theorize that they're going to ease him in, and their goal is just to have him incorporated fully into this offense by the end of the season. But I'm looking at this from a perspective, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not on the inside there to know for a fact, but if you look at Antonio Brown, it's not like we're sticking Antonio Brown on the L.A. Chargers with Justin Herbert, a rookie quarterback, and we're trying to figure out how he's going to work with this guy for the first time and really throw off the pattern of all these other stud wide receivers they have, like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. We're talking about a team in the Bucs that you and I both saw that game on Monday night. Were targeted a lot for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, some of these guys we didn't even know. One of the guys had one reception before that game, and he was the most targeted player on the Bucs. Their wide receiver health is not ideal. They're going to, I think, get Chris Godwin back, but he's dealing with a broken finger. That's not great when you're a wide receiver trying to catch balls from Tom Brady. But Brady has had experience working with AB before, and Bruce Arians has had experience calling plays with AB before as well because they worked together in Pittsburgh. So I think it's something where if they chose, they could actually incorporate him and give him 8 to 10 targets in this game. I think one of the things that we have to be aware of in this game that's very interesting is the wind speed. We talked a lot about that heading into last week's games because a lot of the games in the Northeast were dealing with a lot of wind. Well, this game on Sunday night in Tampa, I'm seeing right now, we'll see by game time, 27 to 29 mile per hour winds with gusts in the mid to upper 30s. These are situations like Drew Brees dealt with in last week's game, and Drew Brees, when he played in Chicago and they won in overtime. But in that game, Drew Brees had the lowest average depth of target of any quarterback in the NFL last week. It was a lot of short passes that were then turned into bigger gains and made his yardage totals a little bit more respectable. This Tampa Bay defense is very good at rallying to the ball to shut down some of these shorter passes. We saw the way that the Giants were moving the ball a little bit with stuff over the top to attack the secondary down the field more. Drew Brees was averaging, I think, only like 4.9 air yards per target, so very close to the line of scrimmage. I don't know how well that's going to work here, but that wind will certainly factor in. You know that Bruce Arians, for whatever reason, has one of the highest run rates on first downs in the first half of games. The team is terrible doing so. Will the wind make him want to run the football even more? There's a lot of X factors with this game. I think it's going to be fascinating.
That's interesting stuff. I think getting Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders back, though, might help that depth of target a little bit. Can Cam, really quick, Warren, they want me to wrap, but I'm dying to know. To me, I look at Cam's season. Statistically, he's been bad, right? But if not for a goal line stand and a play made by Bobby Wagner, one of the best in the business, if Cam punches that ball in, and if he doesn't fumble against the Bills, the narrative around the Patriots and Cam is very different. They're 4-3 with wins against the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Bills, and the Seahawks. But instead, because of those two plays, they're 2-5, and Cam Newton's career is over. Can Cam turn this season around, at least for himself?
I think it will be possible down the stretch. I think that there's going to be opportunities for him. I would like to see it sooner rather than later, but we can't avoid the discussion point that COVID sometimes impacts guys for weeks afterwards. They're breathing and some of their other things that's going on with them. So we actually saw Trent Brown. He's dealing for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's dealing with COVID after effects this week in practice that's actually impacting his ability to be available right now. And so some of these guys, like a finely tuned athlete, you don't know how it's going to affect different guys. I think over the course of the season, 3-4 weeks down the road, once it's maybe out of his system a little bit more or his body's adapted, maybe he starts to look a little bit better. We have to also keep in mind he's working with a lot of receivers that wouldn't be starting on any other team. So I don't know that we can bury him and say his career is over because of what he's done for these few weeks in New England with backup wide receivers all over the place and contracting COVID. We definitely can't do that. I still think he's got more juice in the tank, and I hope that we see it.
Warren, what do you want to plug before you get out of here?
Sharp Football Analysis, we're crushing it this season, having a great year, hitting 70% on totals, and definitely looking forward to this week's games. I love a couple of things on the card this week, and one of them nobody else likes but me. People are betting the under in this Raiders-Chargers game. I like the over in that one.
There it is, Warren Sharp, Sharp Football Analysis. Check it out. Best in the business. Thanks a million as always, Warren.
Thanks, Max.
The NBA is gifting us an early AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Every game counts, Raj. All the Thursday games.
But you see what would have happened? Our friend Steve Mason wouldn't have been able to play because he's vacationing in Arizona and he can't play out there, so he wouldn't be.
Is that right?
So he doesn't get back till tomorrow, so he's going to get his lineup in. He was very worried.
Wait, you can't play in Arizona?
Apparently, that's what he said. He couldn't load his lineup. That's what he was letting me know on Monday. So works for him.
I remember that used to happen in Vegas. I would go to Vegas. I couldn't get my lineup in, but that's why Arizona.
Every $10 we can get to get close to that $60 we're going to win. That's important. That $10 from Steve Mason is vital to our weekend. I want to win that.
I love taking Steve Mason's $10. Yes. That's right. NBPA reps. NBPA. Oh, the Players Association of the NBA you're talking about. Yeah, sorry. Approves December 22nd date for the 72-game regular season. So there it is. The NBA and the National Basketball Players Association will now finish up financial terms on an amended collective bargaining agreement, which will take into next week, sources say. The trade moratorium is expected to be lifted shortly prior to the November 18th draft. This is great. NBA is about to give you a 72. Why 72 games? Same reason they play those extra 7 or 8 games in the bubble in the regular season. That's where the local TV contracts kick in. NBA is getting all their money, and they're getting no positive COVID cases, and they're crowning champions. Dr. Pepper call-in line 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Mr. Pleasant from Houston, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Yes, how you doing, Max? I'm calling.
Go ahead, Mr. Pleasant.
I'm calling about my Houston Texans, man. I'm a diehard fan, and I know they're in search of a GM. And my guy for the job is one of your colleagues, Louis Riddick. Mm-hmm. I would love to have Louis Riddick down here to get this team back in order. I'm sure that
I want Louis Riddick as the GM of the Giants. Here's the main thing. When you have an executive like Bill O'Brien, when you have someone at the top of your organization, an executive making decisions, you can't give them enough time to ruin you. You got to get the new guy in there pronto. I'm trying to remind myself what this reminds me of. Is there anything else going on in the world that reminds me of this right now? Terrible executive, ruining everything. You got to get a new guy in. Anyway, I would say Bieniemy. I mean, sure, Louis Riddick's a great choice, but I want to save him for my football Giants. Eric Bieniemy. It seems to be working out for Patrick Mahomes. Let's see what happens with Deshaun Watson. The problem with Bill O'Brien is that was the dumbest trade. You trade DeAndre Hopkins for a couple, not only that, you take back a bad contract in David Johnson. You don't even get draft compensation for the Johnson contract. And you don't really get enough draft compensation, period. And you break up Watson and Hopkins and you give him to Kyler Murray? Ooh, I'd be hot if I was Deshaun Watson. By the way, news from Max Kellerman Nation. That was Mr. Pleasant. He just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call-in line about my colleague, Louis Riddick at ESPN, Mr. Monday Night Football, as GM candidate for the Houston Texans. I would say that's a very good choice. I'd like him for my Giants, and Bieniemy is a guy who should be a head coach somewhere. Charles from Virginia, you're on the Max Kellerman Show. Go.
What's going on, Max? I'm going to make this quick.
Go ahead.
Yep. I have a problem with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Mm-hmm. You all give him all kind of credit when he does great things, and he does do great things. But time he plays some real competition and doesn't do well, then he needs help. I'm trying to figure out which one are we going to go with. Does he need help or is he a bad man?
Well, he's a bad man, but football is not a one-man sport. Like, more than any other sport, you need a team. And Aaron Rodgers is not exposed against good teams. Look, his touchdown to interception rate, first of all, he's won a Super Bowl. He's won lots of playoff games. He's done it with miraculous throws. I remember Ryan Hollins, the former basketball player. Now he's a broadcaster. Ryan Hollins was at my place in L.A. We're watching the Packers and the Cardinals, was it? It was a playoff game. I'm forgetting already who they were playing. And Aaron Rodgers makes a spectacular throw, and they call it back. And I remember saying to Ryan Hollins, let's see him do it again. Okay, you're the baddest man on the planet. Let's see you do it again. He did it again. Like, Rodgers has done that so many times in his career. You can't question whether he can do it against great defenses and impossible situations. Yes. Check. But when he faces the best teams, certain things are exposed about the Packers. Not about Rodgers, about the Packers. They're thin at receiver after Davante Adams in terms of, really talented guys. They don't have a defense. I'm not making that up.
Wasn't that game against the Cowboys? He made that amazing play. It was third or fourth. No. Was against the Cowboys? Because he's killed them every which way in the playoffs.
No.
All right.
It wasn't the Cowboys. I mean, he's killed. No. Now, he did kill the Cowboys. That's a different game. Dak played very well in that game. And he brought the Cowboys back from the dead. And if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers just being on another level, and he made a play Dak just not capable of making, that won the game for the Packers. Yes, he also did that against the good Cowboys team. But I'm pretty sure it was against Arizona. Maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that. Rodgers has done things. The only guy I've seen do the things that Rodgers more at Progressive Commercial.
You heard First Take?
At least it's good to hear your voice finally, because I know on First Take I only hear you on the intro and outro.
Now hear Max's last take.
DAZN, the streaming service, which was, launched a couple years ago. It was $20 a month. I subscribed to it. It was, you had fights. They started spending an enormous amount of money on boxing. Like when I was at HBO monopolized worldwide boxing, right? Like the best fighters in the world, out of the pound-for-pound best fighters, let's say 7 or 8 of them, would fight on HBO. And they did it with a budget around $80 million a year. And no one else came close. Showtime maybe spent 20 or 30. ESPN at the time was spending maybe $2 to $5 million, a couple other outlets like that. And then Sky Sports would spend some. Maybe total investment in the Western Hemisphere was $150 million for TV rights, something like that. Then boxing money exploded because HBO started getting out of the game, and other outlets saw boxing does a number. We can get subscribers, and it's relatively cheap compared to the other sports to produce. So ESPN jumped in with Top Rank, $90 million a year. Fox and Showtime jumped in with the PBC, $50 million a year a pop. DAZN built their streaming service on boxing. They spend, according to my calculations, until recently, until the pandemic, they were starting to approach like $250 million a year on rights fees for boxing, dwarfing everyone else. They had the 2 biggest stars in the sport at the time, Anthony Joshua and Canelo Alvarez. Well, the biggest star at heavyweight at this moment is Tyson Fury. He's clearly the best heavyweight. And Anthony Joshua got knocked out by Andy Ruiz and then beat Ruiz in a rematch. And Joshua's an underrated fighter at this point. But maybe his star is a little diminished compared to where it was when DAZN signed him. And Canelo Alvarez, who they guaranteed $35 million a fight for, but said he had to fight premium opponents, was saying no matter who they were bringing to DAZN, no, it's not a premium opponent, it's not a premium opponent. And so there was beef and a lawsuit, and looks like Canelo and Golden Boy and DAZN are going to part ways. Looks like Canelo's going to be a free agent. Wonder where he's heading. Maybe he could remain a free agent and fight wherever he wants. That's not a bad move. I'm sure we'd love to have him at ESPN. I mean, I'd love to see him on ESPN. I'd like to see Canelo fight, period. Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Who do I take here? Brendan from Nashville, you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, how you doing, Max? I want to ask you about the reports I've been seeing about Giannis. Apparently, he's prepared to sign a long-term deal in Miami. Do you think he's a good fit there, or is he a better fit at a Golden State, or should he just stay put in Milwaukee?
Well, he can't stay put in Milwaukee because they blew it in Milwaukee. It's like Robert De Niro when Stallone came to him in Copland. But he came back to it, and De Niro said, "You blew it." I used to have that on my soundboard, Raj, back in L.A., remember? You blew it. Yeah. Milwaukee, those cheap owners in Milwaukee, it's 3 dudes, they're investment guys. They played Milwaukee cheap. If you're listening to me in Milwaukee, the owners played you cheap. They played you cheap. Malcolm Brogdon was coming up, so they let him leave. Why is that important? Not only does Giannis need a crime partner, the history of the NBA is that if you're a big, you need another dude who's not a big and is just as good as you if you want to win a championship. Shaq needed Kobe and Dwayne Wade in different cities. Penny in his prime wasn't even good enough. You need someone better than Penny if you're Shaq to win a championship, because those Magic teams were loaded. Horace Grant, Nick Anderson, and all those. Dennis Scott. Kareem never won a championship without Oscar Robertson or Magic Johnson. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No, bigs need another guy who's not a big just as good as them. And Giannis is really a big, and he doesn't have that. So why is Malcolm Brogdon significant? Well, that's not that guy. Nice player, but not that guy. Because if you want to trade for that guy, if you're Milwaukee, you're not going to sign him. They're just, guys like that don't sign in Milwaukee. So you need to match up salaries. And now, because you don't have Malcolm Brogdon's salary on your book, remember, players already on your team, their contracts can be grandfathered in so you can exceed the cap. But if they're not already on your team, you can't exceed the cap to bring them in. So if they're already on your team, pay them, keep them around as talent and tradable assets, which would have been Brogdon, and you could have matched up his salary with some other star's salary and thrown some stuff together and maybe wound up with Bradley Beal or someone like that to bring in. Can't do it now. Not without losing Middleton or someone like that. And Giannis plus Beal need a guy like Middleton if they want to actually try to win a championship. No, Giannis got to bounce.
Max. What happened to the concept?
Yeah.
This was about the callers. You just hogged up all the oxygen for this segment on one caller with hearing your voice. It was supposed to be about the callers,
Well, I'm looking at the other calls. Justin Jefferson or Clyde, which franchise blows it up? Dallas or Houston?
Yeah, the fantasy question.
What do the Pats do after Cam?
Connor.
Vikings, are they going to get hot? I don't want to talk about the
Connor,
Vikings.
your question is Justin Jefferson.
Should the Niners get an elite receiver? The question with the Niners is, do they keep Jimmy